For years, fans believed they knew the true story behind Mendeecees' struggles in the industry, but it turns out there's a whole other side to this messy drama. And it all leads back to Kirk. Now that Yandy Smith has finally reached her breaking point, she's calling out Russ, demanding answers, and what she just exposed is sending shockwaves through the entire world of love and hip-hop. How deep is this betrayal? How long has Kirk been secretly preventing Mendeecees from succeeding? And why did Rasheeda remain silent about it? Oh, and wait until you hear what Kirk did behind the scenes to prevent M from getting back on his feet. This story is getting more and more crazy by the minute. But wait, because things are about to get crazy. Yandy wasn't going to let this go. Not after everything I've gone through, and especially not after learning that Kirk Frost of all people could be the reason why her man's career never took off the way it should have. It all began at a prestigious industry event in Atlanta, where the atmosphere was tense enough to cut with a knife. Yandy had heard whispers, rumors for years, but this time she had receipts, and when she saw Rasheeda, she knew this was her chance to get some answers. However, let's go back a little because this story is about to take a turn that no one could have predicted for years. Ems Harris was working hard in the industry. He had talent connections and a strong work ethic, but something kept getting in the way of his success. Every time he was on the verge of a big deal, something would go wrong. A contract would abruptly fall through. A promised collaboration would mysteriously disappear. And every time the doors that should have been open for him somehow slammed shut right in his face. At first, she assumed it was just bad luck, because the industry can be cruel after all. But then she noticed a disturbing pattern. The same names kept appearing. And at the Kirk Frost isn't exactly known for being the most honest man in the game. If you've watched Love and Hip Hop, you already know that his past is messy. But this was on a whole other level. Yandy had reason to think that Kirk had been working behind the scenes to prevent me from ever becoming famous. If Kirk was involved, what did that mean for Rasheeda? Did she know that she was involved? Or was she just as in the dark as everyone else? That's precisely what Yandy wanted to know when she approached Kirk. At that event, the room was bustling, people were mingling, and the cameras were rolling. Yandy, looking fierce as ever, locked eyes with Rasheeda and didn't waste any time saying, "We need to talk." Rasheeda raised an eyebrow and sipped her drink as if she didn't give a damn about anything. And that's when Yandy dropped the bomb about your husband. The moment she said those words, the energy in the room changed, and others began to look over, sensing that something significant was about to happen. Rasheeda sneered and flicked her hair back. What about him? Yandy took a deep breath to steady herself before speaking. I know what he did to me, and I want to know if you weren't on it. The gloves were off. The smile faltered for a brief moment, just long enough for Yandy to notice. But then she laughed. What are you even talking about, girl? I'm talking about how every time the deal in Mendeecees had been planned, something went wrong, and Kirk has been acting like a puppet master, making sure my man didn't get the opportunities he deserved. So I need to know if you were involved in this, or if you were just watching it happen. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed. But you need to pay attention to what you're saying, Yandy. However, Yandy wasn't fazed, so you should start talking because the receipts I got don't lie. At this point, a small crowd had gathered, and people were whispering, and phones were coming out, because everyone knew that when drama popped off, you better capture it on camera. Rasheeda's smile wavered only long enough for Yandy to notice, but then she laughed. Girl, what are you even talking about? Yandy wasn't backing down. I'm talking about how every time N had a deal lined up, something went wrong. Kirk was always playing puppet master, making sure my man and any of these got the opportunities he deserved. Now, I need to know if you were involved in this, or if you were just watching it happen. Rasheeda's eyes narrowed. You're saying, Mandy. But Yandy wasn't fazed. Oh, you need to start talking because the receipts I got don't lie at this point. A small crowd had gathered, and people were whispering and phones were coming out, because everyone knew that when drama popped off, you had better catch it on camera. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any crazier, the crowd around them was growing, and people were whispering and phones were coming out like wildfire. Everyone knew that this was going to be a confrontation of the love and hip-hop kind, and nobody was missing it. But Rasheeda wasn't going to allow Yandy to take over the conversation. So you're telling me that Kirk, my husband, had anything to do with M's career? Why would he even care? Yandy moved closer, lowering her voice just enough to keep the tension high, because Mendeecees was going to sign a deal that would take him to a new level. A deal that, surprise, surprise, Kirk's small network managed to block. And you're going to sit here and pretend you don't know anything about that? Rasheeda's lips pressed into a thin line, which she detested. Placed on the spot, and Yandy was aware of it. However, Rasheeda wasn't a fool. She understood the workings of the industry, and more importantly, she knew her husband. This sounded exactly like something Kirk would do, but admitting that in front of a crowd is not going to happen, Yandy. I believe you've been misinformed, Rasheeda said in a calm, calculated tone. If you have receipts, show them. Otherwise, don't come at me like this. Yandy smirked. Oh, you want receipts? And tapped the screen. The atmosphere in the room abruptly changed when Rasheeda saw what was on the phone. It was an email thread that was obvious as day that connected Kirk to several blocked deals that were meant to be M's big break. To make matters worse, Kirk himself sent a message to a prominent industry executive stating that M wasn't a good fit for a particular label. Anyone who understood how the game operated knew that this wasn't just a suggestion. It was a clear signal to Black. Rasheeda couldn't deny what was in front of her, so she tightened her hold on her drink and dug her fingernails into the glass. Where did you get this? Yandy raised an eyebrow, but it doesn't matter. The point is that it happened, and I need to know if you weren't on it. Rasheeda took a slow breath and looked around at the people watching and the recording phones. She was cornered, and she knew it looked bad, so she began to carefully choose her words. I had no idea Kirk was doing anything like this. If this is real. Yandy cut her off. Girl, stop playing with me. You know exactly what you're looking at. Rasheeda hesitated, and for a moment, something flickered in her face. Was it regret or guilt? Or was it simply the realization that she might have been played like everyone else? I'm not going to stand here and pretend that Kirk doesn't make moves without telling me. Rasheeda acknowledged that her voice was lower now, almost as if she was saying something she would rather not say. But I promise you, Yandy, I was unaware of this. Yandy examined her face for any indication of dishonesty. To be honest, she didn't see one, but that didn't mean she was letting it go. Then you need to check your husband, Yandy said firmly, because what he did wasn't just shoddy. It was career-ending, and I'm not going to let him get away with it. Rasheeda sighed, shaking her head. I need to talk to him. Yandy took a step back, crossing her arms. But yes, you do, because if you don't handle this, I will. Suddenly, the atmosphere in the room reached a whole new level of tension, because this wasn't just a confrontation anymore. It was war, a warning, and Rasheeda. Rasheeda knew that when Yandy made a promise like that, she meant every word. The tension was high as she left Yandy, her mind racing, knowing that she had to get to Kirk quickly because If what Yandy was saying was true, if Kirk had actually ruined M's career, then this wasn't just some industry drama. It was about power betrayal and a secret that could ruin everything. Back home, Rasheeda stormed through the front door, her heels clicking against the floor. Kirk was sitting on the couch, casually scrolling through his phone, but as soon as he saw Rasheeda's expression, he knew what had happened. He asked, putting his phone down, and Rasheeda folded her arms, saying, "That's what I want to know." Yandy had just approached me with some serious receipts, and if they were real, we had a serious problem. Kirk sighed and rubbed his temples, saying, "Rasheeda, I don't know what you're talking about. Don't play Mendeecees with me, Kirk." Her voice was sharp. "Did you or did you not pull strings to block Mendeecees' deals?" Kirk leaned back, his expression unreadable. "Tell me the truth." Kirk exhaled slowly, while staring at Rasheeda as if he was undecided about how much to say. Then he leaned forward and rested his elbows on his knees. "Okay, so I made some calls and voiced my opinion, but that was just business." Rasheeda's mouth fell open, and Kirk shook his head. "I didn't sabotage anything. I just made sure the right people understood what they were getting into. I just made sure he didn't get in over his head." Rasheeda took a shaky breath, and Kirk's silence was all the confirmation she needed. "Oh my God, you were threatened." Kirk clenched his jaw and looked away. "Who got to you? Who made you do this?" Kirk stood up, running a hand over his face. "Look, Rasheeda, the industry isn't just about talent, it's about survival." She shook her head, saying, "You don't even realize what you've done," and Kirk's voice hardened. "I did what I had to do. If I hadn't made that call, it wouldn't have been just Mendeecees' career on the line. It could have been worse." "What do you think? Yandy's just going to let this slide?" "You need to stay out of this, Rasheeda, for your own good," she said, but she wasn't hearing it because she knew that this wasn't over. The following day, Yandy was waiting, and she was finished playing games. If Kirk thought he could get away with this, he had another thing coming. When Rasheeda arrived, looking as if she hadn't slept at all, Yandy already knew. "Did you speak to him?" Rasheeda nodded, her face unreadable. "And yes, you were right." Yandy's eyes flashed. "Of course. And I was now told if he was working alone, or if there was more to this." Rasheeda hesitated, because this was the moment when she had to choose between telling the truth and protecting Kirk. She took a deep breath, and she decided to tell him. Then the game changed, because it was no longer just about me. It was about something much bigger, and Yandy was about to blow everything up. It wasn't about Kirk, Rasheeda, Yandy, or even the messes. It was about the darkest secrets of the industry finally coming to light. The real question now is what will happen next. Will Yandy take this fight all the way to the top? Will Rasheeda support Kirk? Or will she expose him for what he did? And most importantly, who else is involved in this mess? Because if Kirk was coerced into leaving the game, then who is pulling the strings? This story is far from over, and I promise that what's going to happen next will shock everyone. Tell me, do you think Kirk was just protecting himself? Or was he being straight up shady? If you want to be the first to know when the next shocking revelation occurs, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and stay locked in because this drama is just getting started. Just cut deadly. Even if we thought we had seen it all in love and hip-hop, Mendeecees and Kirk Frost are no longer just making fun of each other. Someone might not make it through this ordeal. Wait, was Kirk the one who set up me? Was this a mafia-level ambush that was caught on camera? And why is Mendeecees showing up for blood? and then suddenly lowering up. The streets are talking, the blogs are booming, and let's just say that nobody is safe, bro. We received alleged CCTV footage, leaked information, and some terrible receipts that will make you. Gather some popcorn and let's analyze the chaos, drama, and danger surrounding this love and hip-hop war. Kirk Frost and Mendeecees are two names that have been making waves in the love and hip-hop community for all the wrong reasons. But trust me when I say that you weren't prepared for what was about to happen. Kirk Frost will soon be exposed behind the scenes, executing desperate power moves, and most importantly, losing everything. We're talking about backstabbing private meetings and secret actions that could drastically change the course of events. Let's take a moment to look back in time. Do any of you know me? He has been involved in several scandals, from his court cases to his tragic relationship with Yandy Smith. What if I told you that this isn't just a trivial reality TV show? The tea is hot, and people are talking in the streets. However, behind the scenes, whispers have always existed. Kirk Frost, a man whose reputation has been built as a father, businessman, and all-around cool guy, has never been as clean as he wants you to believe due to controversies involving cheating and questionable business transactions.